What's going on, beautiful subscribers? It's February 29th here in southeastern Pennsylvania, zone 7A. And today we got an awesome video. We are over at a friend's orchard about 10 minutes away from my farm. And he has hired me to come in here and do some corrective pruning. Video we're going to be doing a little bit of pruning, and we're going to be looking at a lot of different trees in here, and we're going to be showing the difference before and after pruning, and we're going to be talking about some of the variety of trees. There's probably 50 different trees in this orchard. Here's a good shot of the farm and the orchard. I'm standing in the middle of it right now on top of the chipper. There's a whole other half behind me. Here is a gnarly looking apple tree I thought I would show you guys. Must have blown over in the wind when it was young, and then it started growing sideways. I mean, this thing's just gnarly. But I'm sure it holds a ton of fruit, so we're gonna see later this year. We'll come back and see what this looks like. Here's a nectarine, or more likely a peach. They just got done pruning. You can see big open center, lots of light, lots of airflow. Once again, it's so windy. Every day I go to record, the wind is howling. This is probably holding some tasty fruit. We'll find out later. So really, we only need 3 pruning tools to do most of this work. A hand saw, which works great for making nice, clean cuts, especially getting inside the cracks and crevices. Loppers, these work really well against the water sprouts sticking up. And a paw saw, especially one with very fine teeth, so we can make nice clean cuts. Now, in this bucket of water is bleach. If you're jumping from one tree to the next, you want to clean your pruning equipment off in between. So we don't spread fungus around the orchard. Another way to do this is with a spray bottle. This is 50% water, 50% isopropyl alcohol. Spray bottle's not working, but you get the idea. This will stop us from spreading fungus from one tree to the next. So after you finish, finish one tree completely, then wash off your pruning equipment and move to the next tree. All right, one of the farmers here claims that this is a Golden Delicious, which is awesome, because Golden Delicious is one of the best yellow tasting apples that you'll find. You can see that this has been completely neglected. It's got water chutes all the way up through it, crossing branches, damaged branches, diseased branches. All right, so we started working in the Golden Delicious, the biggest tree in the orchard. We're removing all the water sprouts for now. This thing is a giant. Here's another shot of this beautiful giant Golden Delicious. And this is our first year in here pruning. So we are just gonna follow the lead of the last guy. You can see he opened up the center big time. And then all the water sprouts came back in. So we're gonna continue where he left off. We're gonna open it back up again. And here's another cherry tree. We're gonna have to do something with. Trunks all damaged. Looks like Doug's starting to cut here up in the Golden Delicious. It's already opened up it a lot. You can see the size difference between this monster tree and a normal size tree over there. This is why you want to buy semi-dwarf varieties. You can see how much we thinned out in the middle. Got all the dead, damaged, diseased, all the water sprouts. And that's all we're doing for now. But yeah, you could keep pruning this tree for hours and hours and hours. So for now, that's all we're gonna do. We'll be back to take a look at it in 2 weeks. It's hard to tell, but we want to be in the collar. Each branch has a collar. You could see the collar. We don't want to be too far outside the collar, and we don't want to be too flush against the tree, or it's going to eventually rip, or it'll never heal over. So, try and make your pruning cuts right inside that collar. This is what you're hoping to happen over time. You can see the tree is healing itself over the wound. And that happens if you make the cut in the right spot in the collar. You see right here is the collar. Looks a little different. Has these waves on it. Well, every branch is going to have a collar. If we look right here on this small branch, you could see there's a collar right here. We want to make our cut right on the outside of that collar, or in the collar, but not too close to the tree and not outside of the collar out here. If we get it right in that collar, then the tree is going to heal much better like it did here. Look at this beautiful cherry tree. Look at the shape on this thing. Branch structure looks really nice. It's gonna be able to hold a lot of fruit. Someone's been shaping it over the years. All we gotta do is get in there and thin out some of those branches in the middle. The branch is growing back towards the center. And we're gonna increase the light, increase the airflow. But man, I wanna show you this tree. This tree looks great. I'm excited about this one also. We'll just do a quick comparison of this cherry tree, which we haven't pruned yet. You see, it's messy. There's a lot of branches in there, no airflow. And then we'll go over to one that we have pruned. And you can see the difference here. See how we open that up? Got out a lot of those crossing branches. Get airflow in there and sunlight. Looks a lot different. This is what we're looking for. Okay, so this tree's exciting, and this is a young tree, but if it is what I think it is, an American persimmons, then they grow extremely slow. But this tree has the capability of producing an insane amount of fruit in a few years. So, someone must have planted this in the last 5 years because it's much younger than all the other trees in the orchard. And this tree has me stoked. Here's another giant, fully grown apple tree. I have no idea what variety it is. Not looking forward to pruning this. There's a lot of work involved here. But this is what happens if you buy a standard size tree at the nursery instead of a semi-dwarf or dwarf. You could see how big these apple trees can get and how out of control this one is. And here's a good shot of half of it. These trees are really old and need a lot of help. But what's exciting is the owner wants to plant new trees this fall. Alright, so here's an apple tree that the guy's already pruned, but they left a lot of water shoots in the tree here. And we want to leave some that are going to turn into mature branches in 2 years and have fruit spurs on them in 2 years, but we can't leave that many. We probably want to take out 75% of these that we're looking at here. Here's another shot of a giant cherry tree from another angle. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of fruit that this tree is going to hold this year. So it's going to be exciting. We're definitely coming back once everything's flowering. We're going to come back again once everything sets the fruit. We're going to come back mid-season, watch the fruit growth. Picking the fruit. It's going to be an awesome year in this new / very old orchard. All right, here we have another plum. Not sure what type. It's covered in black, not fungus. So I wanted to leave it for one of the last trees. And you can see what it looks like. Real messy in there. A lot of crossing branches, cluttered, crowded. We're gonna try and thin it out. Almost done pruning, but boy, do we have a lot of cleanup left to do. Boy, do I love pruning fruit trees. Look at this Japanese plum now. Huge difference. This is the first year I have ever pruned this tree. And it is going to do so much better now that we got some more airflow and sunlight down into the canopy there. Plus, One Japanese plum branch is capable of producing so much fruit. This tree can produce 300-400 pieces of fruit, so thinning out lots of branches is not a problem. All right, so here's a smaller cherry tree, and all you got to remember when you're pruning is the triple D's: dead, damaged, and diseased. You can see right up here we have a bunch of damaged branches from the storm, so we're gonna go after those first. All right, so here is another cherry. They seem to be beaten up the most in this orchard by the wind and storms. See all these broken branches? So we're gonna get those out of there. And then we're gonna be looking for crossing branches. Anything else in here? So here's a good example of a peach tree. Maybe it's a nectarine, I can't tell. It's split right on the trunk. Now, if this was my orchard, I would take this tree out completely. But what we're gonna do is remove that entire branch, and then I'm gonna spray wound healer in there, and we're gonna see if we can get a few more years out of it. But I'm gonna recommend to the owner that this tree comes out and we plant a new one. All right, so here is what looks like a Japanese plum. I can't be certain because I've never been in this orchard before, but it looks to me to be some sort of Japanese plum. And you can see it's a complete mess of broken branches, cluttered, neglected. And no one pruned it last year, it looks like. So I'm gonna show you another Japanese plum that we just got done pruning, and we'll be able to look at the difference here. But I am really excited to see what type of fruit is on this tree this year. If I get really close to the buds, all you fruit experts will definitely agree that it's some sort of Japanese plum. And it is a complete mess. Here's another shot of the orchard. I have driven past this orchard my entire life and didn't realize how cool it was. There are so many trees in here and different types of trees. I can't imagine how much fruit this produces and what they do with all the fruit. You could see that it's completely covered in black knot fungus. And this is what happens if you don't prune the fungus out of the tree when you first see it. Almost every single branch is loaded with black knot fungus now, and it's stealing so much energy from the fruit as it forces the tree to create more plant tissue fighting the fungus. So we definitely want to cut the black knot fungus out of our trees the minute we see it, because this is what can happen. It's spread aggressively throughout the tree, And now this tree's in really bad shape, and I'm gonna have to recommend removing it completely from the orchard to the owner. This is another really cool looking apple tree it has here. You could see whoever had been pruning it in the past was leaving that one main leader up the middle, and it looks really cool. We're not completely done pruning it, but it's gonna be a lot better off than it was before. We got in there, took off a bunch of the water suckers, water sprouts, all the crossing branches, get some more sunlight and airflow in there. This tree is really cool. This will be exciting to see what type of apples it's holding. Here's another cool tree, some type of pear. I think it's European. We'll know for sure in a few weeks. Got hit pretty hard by the deer. There is no deer fence in here, which is crazy. They can climb right through that split rail fence and have their way with this place. So we're gonna have to do some more protective work around the trunks like somebody did here. Stop the deer from trying to rub on this tree. But yeah, it looks like a European pear. And we're gonna do a full orchard walk around again in a few weeks when the flowers are out and we could tell much better. Alright, look how messy this apple is in the back of the orchard. This thing is such a mess. It doesn't look like it's been pruned in a long time. So, I'll show you what it looks like when we're done pruning it. See how much we can help. It's really hard to come in and prune a tree properly after it's been neglected for so long. But we're gonna do the best we can. We're back looking at the cherry tree that we looked at earlier, and we cut the big branches that were hanging and broken from the storm, and now it has a weird looking shape. Sorry again about the wind. Driving me nuts. Non-stop wind every day. Can't wait for this weather to be over. You can see the big branches on the ground that we had to cut off. A lot broke in the storm. Alright, I was walking around looking for a peach tree, and I found one. And it's got this big crossing branch in the middle. That one right there. We want to get that out. Peach trees love an open center, like a vase. And this one looks like it's been pruned in a central leader, more like an apple tree. So I might have to take that whole piece out, maybe somewhere right there. It's just very strange because here's an apple right next to the peach we just looked at, and they pruned the apple years ago, somebody did, into a vase, which I don't even like to do with apples, but then they didn't prune the peach right next to it into a vase, which doesn't make any sense because stone fruits, plums, peaches, nectarines, cherries, they love the open vase much more than a pome fruit like an apple. But There really doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to how these trees have been pruned over the years. So this apple, open vase, right next to it, another apple, center leader. So here we are, doing some pruning with the stick saw. Probably the most effective pruning piece of equipment for an orchard like this. It's a long stick pole saw. And everything will be putting through the chipper soon. I'm really happy to see this tree here. This tree is not going to give us any edible fruit this year because it's a crab apple. But a crab apple is extremely important for an orchard because it is an excellent pollinator. The crab apple has a very extended bloom season, and therefore it helps pollinate lots of different varieties of apples. So we're going to come back probably 4 weeks and we're going to be looking for bees. And I'm sure that we're going to see this thing covered in bees and hopefully flying over to the other apples in the orchard, pollinating. Here we are cleaning out the tree, looking for dead, damaged, disease, water sprouts, crossing, crowded, cluttered, sunlight and airflow. Alright, so the people have a tendency to use loppers on too big of cuts, and I'll show you what happens to the branch. This is too big for a lopper. You make the cut, right? But you know what we did? We just pinched this bark, and we messed up the cut. It's a bad cut. And the cut now, the tree's damaged. So, you see right there, it's hard to see. See where it's compressed and it's ripped? Because I used a lopper on way too big of a diameter cut. And so many people have a tendency to do this. Instead, we want to use a handsaw. Really, anything that gets bigger than like a magic marker, unfortunately, to make a nice clean cut, we want to use the handsaw instead. And I'll show you what that looks like. Once again, it's so windy, I can barely film every single day here. In February in southeastern Pennsylvania, the wind's been blowing 15, 20 miles per hour. So it'll get better, hopefully. All right, much cleaner, better cut. The edges of the bark are not messed up in any way. And this is going to heal over significantly better than the cut that we used the loppers for. Here's another nice shot of the orchard. Somehow 2 horses got in there. But you can see all these trees in here.
We're gonna have lots of good content.
All right, well, thanks for watching, everybody. This orchard's gonna bring us a lot of content this year. We're gonna come back in about 4 weeks or whenever everything's flowering, and we're gonna look at the trees again. So if you liked the video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.